Hello everyone, my name is Clay and welcome to another episode of Terminally Nerdy. Today is a special episode and I have to keep from looking right there because that's where my face is on screen. Gotta look at the camera, not at the picture. Camera, that picture. So I'm recording this before I go to work so I can get it all uploaded and stuff. You guys are going to see this Saturday morning. And if you haven't guessed from the title, what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about freedom of speech, censorship, and how they don't really apply in the way people are acting to the YouTube changes for monetization. For those of you who aren't aware, about a week, 2 weeks ago, YouTube came out and finally actually said, hey, we have these changes to monetization. If your video doesn't fit in a certain way, we're not going to let you monetize your video. We're going to take it away. And since then, I've seen people screaming, YouTube is over, and there's a hashtag YouTube party is over, and Phil DeFranco, Boogie2988, and all these big YouTubes are freaking out, saying that YouTube is censoring them, YouTube is trampling on their freedom of speech, and all this nonsense. And they're using terminology wrong. I hate that. And this is a little nerdy because we're going to get into definitions and how the definitions apply and stuff, so this is still nerdy. Still nerdy. Also, this is the first video I'm recording with my new camera and my mic. Ooh. God, it's hard not to look at myself when I'm recording. Note to self, maybe minimize. Oh, that makes it easier. So first, let's go over what the new content that is considered inappropriate for advertising is, so those of you who don't know what's going on can understand. So, YouTube apparently had been doing this previously, where they've been quietly not allowing monetization on videos that fell within these categories. Now they've come out and said, if it falls into one of these, we're probably not going to monetize it because our advertisers don't want to put ads on those videos. Those things are things like sexually suggestive content, including partial nudity or sexual humor. Violence, including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism. Inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, and vulgar language. Promotion of drugs and related or regulated substances, including selling, use, or abuse of such items. And controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war, political conflict, natural disaster, and tragedy, even if the graphic imagery is not shown. It's kind of vague, and honestly, they could probably do a little bit better on not making it as vague. But basically what it boils down to is they're kind of going the route of television, to an extent. And of course, you can always fight these things, like if you're a news channel and you're reporting on the actual news, I'm pretty sure you could fight it and still get monetized. But what's going on, the big thing that's going on, is that people are screaming, this is breaking my freedom of speech and that YouTube is censoring them. And first thing I want to do is talk about freedom of speech, what it actually means, and what it actually protects you against. So, by definition, according to dictionary.com, freedom of speech is the right of people to express their opinions publicly without governmental interference, subject to the laws against libel, incitement to violence or rebellion, etc. The important part there is the governmental interference. What it really boils down to is you can say what you want and the government can't stop you. Unless, of course, you're slander, libel, or inciting violence or rebellion, like if you're trying to get people to murder somebody. You can't do that. But it's the government who can't do anything to you. Freedom of speech does not protect you in a private situation, in a private location. If you're in a Target or a Walmart, you're in another person's home, you're on YouTube or on another forum like Reddit or anything like that, on a WordPress blog, on Tumblr, Facebook, freedom of speech does not protect you there. Those entities are not the government, and they have control over their domains. If you came to my WordPress blog and you started spouting nonsense at me that I didn't like, I'm completely within my rights to get rid of it. I don't even have to tell you why. You don't have freedom of speech beyond what I give you. YouTube is the same way. If YouTube says, I don't want these things on my site anymore, they're within their rights to do that. They are not trampling on your freedom of speech. They're not the government. They own that site. It belongs to them. Simple as that. They can say, don't do these things or there will be consequences. And if you don't do those things, then you're fine. If you do those things, you are subject to the consequences they have laid out. It'd just be like some guy coming into my home and ranting racist nonsense. I'm not going to put up with it. It's my house. I don't want that in here. I'm going to kick him out. There's nothing he can do. He can't scream, you're stepping on my freedom of speech. Ah! He can't. Because I'm not the government, so I'm not. So that's an important distinction there. YouTube isn't touching your freedom of speech. Now, you could argue for the news channels, YouTube might be messing with your freedom of the press, but that's an entirely different matter, and that's not what people are talking about. They're claiming it's freedom of speech issues and censorship issues. To discuss censorship, you need to understand how censoring works. So, to censor would be if somebody were going around. Now, the official thing is a noun or a verb. In a verb, it's to delete a word or passage in one's capacity as a censor. And a censor is somebody who examines books, plays, news, motion pictures, radio, television, letters, etc., for the purposes of suppressing parts deemed objectionable on either moral, political, military, or other grounds. What that basically means is, in order for YouTube to be censoring you, they have to be removing it. So if they were going into Philip's videos, and every time that he said the word fuck, they bleeped it. That's censoring. If YouTube went and saw Boogie's Francis videos and took them down because they felt they were objectionable, that's censoring. They're stopping you. Can they do that? Yeah. Again, it's a privately owned website. As long as they lay out the rules and you break those rules, they can do it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's fair, but let's be frank, not everything in life is fair. So when you've got this censoring thing going on, it isn't. So they're not really censoring you because they're not taking your videos out. They're not saying, oh, if you do sexually suggestive content, I'm deleting your video, or I'm bleeping your words, or I'm going to go in and forcibly edit to remove sections. That's censoring. YouTube is not doing that. What YouTube is doing is saying, okay, do what you want, like you always do. But if you display violence, I'm not going to let you make money off of it. If you use inappropriate language that I feel is inappropriate, which they're keeping vague on purpose, by the way, I'll demonetize you and not allow you to make money off that. I will remove monetization from your entire channel if you continue. They're not stopping you from making videos. They're just stopping you from getting paid for it. That's not censorship. Censorship would imply that you can't do it, but they're going to stop you after the fact. They will censor your video. They will bleep you. They will do something. Just like TV. For those unaware, TV regulations are mandated by the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. YouTube is essentially another form of TV. It's just privately owned. And it even is subject to FCC regulations at times with things like promotions. If you get things for free and you don't... what's the word I'm looking for? If you don't actually say, hey, I got this for free for the purposes of review, stuff like that, you can get nailed by the FCC because that's against FCC regulation. That's not censorship either. That's not stepping on your freedom of speech either. This is the law and this is how it works. So that's what's going on here. Are there issues with this? Possibly. Are people going to have issues with their livelihood? Probably. I'm curious as to how James Rolfe's going to react, because the Angry Video Game Nerd is an entire channel predicated on vulgar language. His entire character just screams profanity. Oh, my internet went down again. Awesome. I've been having internet problems every time I hook in a router. My modem goes nuts. Lovely. Seems to be my computer that's doing it too. So, anyway, that's basically what I wanted to talk about here. Is they have a right to complain. You always have a right to complain. YouTube hasn't censored the complaints. Philip DeFranco has videos on it. Boogie has 3 videos on it. Because, you need to have 3 different videos about the same issue. That's why. But they both, and everybody else complaining, are claiming censorship, freedom of speech, yada yada yada, and it's not. It really isn't. Learn what the words you're speaking mean. Because anybody like me who's intelligent enough to know what those words actually mean, we look at you like you're an idiot. I'm sorry. It's not what you think it is. Now, do you have to like it? No. I'm not saying you do. You don't have to be happy that they're going to make your channel more difficult. But instead of screaming that they're censoring you, why don't you say, no, they're messing with my ability to be creative. That's true. They could be. And nobody can tell you otherwise, that they're not. You could say, well, they're going to ruin my livelihood with these changes. That might be true, especially for somebody like Boogie who lives off YouTube. My response is, well, things change, adapt. Life is nothing but change, and the only constants are death. And technically taxes, as they say, but you can get around that now. Especially if you're rich. But everything in life is going to change, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it except roll with it. This is a change. This is a change that YouTube has come out and said, this is what we're doing now. So if you want to keep using YouTube as a platform, and there are other options, they're nowhere near as big, but there are other options. But if you want to use YouTube as a platform, this is what you're dealing with now. For me, don't really care. I just don't. The most I do is the inappropriate language, and that's cursing, and I don't think they're ever going to have a problem with that. They probably have a closer problem with things like the controversial things, which is vague enough to be problematic. That's the only part I have a problem with. But who knows? So I just want to get that out there. Remember, this is not a censorship issue. This is not a freedom of speech issue. Neither of those things apply here at all. It's an issue, but it's an issue of, well, rules changed. Deal with it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Be aware, much like anything else, I will censor you if I don't like your comment. As a warning, I will censor you by removing the comment. That's censoring. I don't like it, I'm not going to let it be seen. This is my corner of the web, as it were, and I'm in control here, subject to YouTube. I will happily remove it. As a note. I've done it before on my personal site, and I'll do it again. That, by the way, is, like I said, censoring. But if you have any actual questions, feel free to leave them in the comments box. If you don't like what I'm saying, hit the dislike button. If you like it, hit the like button. If you feel like seeing more of this kind of thing, hit the subscribe button. Normally I'll be posting on Thursdays. Like I said, this is a special. Yay! Testing out the new camera. Although this will not be the first video you'll see. This will be the first video you see of the new camera, but you won't actually see me get the new camera until next week. It's weird. Timing. And thanks for watching as always. I'll see you guys next time.